Hello and welcome to the Tech Lunch Podcast, where we encourage our listeners to learn something new about tech every week. This can range from learning about new and exciting applications to the advancements in coding and technology. If you are always learning, you will always be a step above the rest. Take the time during lunch or during a break to listen and learn, kind of like a lunch and learn, but for the ears. This podcast will open the listener's ears to new and exciting technologies they may have not been purview to in the past. These topics will range from manufacturing technologies to data collection technologies and everything in between. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hey, I'm John.
Hello, I'm Ed.
And, this week we're going to, dive back into, we're going to go look back and look, actually, we're going to dive back into virtualization. We kind of, did a snack episode on it. I think it was, our second episode we did, Ed?
Yeah, I think that's
something
right.
like that. And so we're kind of going back and hitting the low-hanging fruit here, and actually, bringing people into the fold of a full episode so people can get a little bit more ideas on, what virtualization means, containerized systems, what they mean, Dockerization, depending on if you want to go that way when you start talking about Dockers, or virtual machines, or however you want to do hypervisors, if you're in the world of ESXi and stuff like that. It's a lot of, buzzwords and stuff like that when you're talking about, virtualization. You're talking about different, manufacturers and suppliers and stuff like that you're working with. But the thing is, if you think about it, it's Dockerizing, containerizing, and virtualizing data and servers and stuff like that is a lot easier than doing hard-mounted equipment. It's also a lot cheaper. I can run multiple OSs on one piece of metal, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It takes my footprint of my data center and shrinks it by a lot. Like technically, in my little demo lab I got, I'm running 4 Docker machines on an 8 gig dual core 2U server. Just to play with, fire them up and let them use them using Portainer. It's great. And, the Docker, subsystems and the Docker universe.
I bet you still got processing power left.
Oh, yeah, it's still hauling.
Yeah.
And that's also running a web server on the bare metal itself also.
Yeah.
So, and because it doesn't, and, running Ubuntu server. I still have other servers in there running ESXi.
It's pretty low load, too, when you're running Linux as well, like especially with these containers. It's beautiful. I mean, you get me thinking about, a lot of places probably don't even realize that they have virtualization already.
I know they don't.
Yeah, they don't realize, and they throw the term around. You said buzzwords. They'll throw it around all the time like it's nothing. VM this, things like that. I realized slowly and steadily too that it's about accessibility, and the ease of accessibility to what was it when we first got computers? Everybody couldn't get a computer, right?
Yeah.
They're giant machines, right? So those computers started getting stronger and stronger.
Talking about mainframes?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about size of your car. IBM rolling that computer through, needing a truck to bring it in instead of just somebody putting it in their backpack like it is now, a little laptop.
Yeah.
But so nowadays I think about I'm building my computers. I have computers that I have for gaming and custom built, all that good stuff. I feel like in a lot of cases I'm leaving computing power on the table.
You are, because you're dealing with bloatware.
Yes, 100%. And not for nothing, Microsoft Windows it's got a lot of stuff going on, okay? Let me just tell you. A lot of stuff that you don't need, maybe some stuff that you do, but a lot of stuff you probably haven't even looked at or know that it's running services that are, processes going that are not, necessary. And when you're trying to run a lean production environment and you're building those PCs, you don't want to leave that on the table. That's cost left on the table. So I just think that even from an availability standpoint, you can get all of, if you have one supercomputer, you can get all your employees a virtual workstation there, and everybody can attach to that same thing. Now, granted, you're giving yourself a point of failure. That computer goes down, everybody's out of work. But I'm just saying, for accessibility and availability and cheap cost, you got everybody online, everybody connected.
Well, the thing is, and it's like what we can use on the shop floor on occasion is thin clients. I've worked for areas where we had a blade center. It was actually, yeah, it was a blade. It was one full blade center. So it had multiple blades. Each blade had somewhere in the neighborhood of about a terabyte of memory on board. And we had it attached to probably, about 24 terabytes or more of data. I think it was like 100 something terabytes of data, something like that. Mm-hmm. And each one of those blades held multiple end user computer platforms, which your thin clients. It's like now you got some places that are you can virtualize and borrow MacBooks. Same process.
Yeah, I mean the big thing with the virtualization, a lot of that can be done via the cloud. So even if the bare metal fails, most of those companies have multiple servers. They have contingency plans. They have failover.
Yeah, failover backups.
Yeah, failover, failbacks, and stuff like that. So that's that. If you do not have the resources, that's probably a good place to start. Mm-hmm. It may be a little bit of cost up front, depending on what you choose, AWS or Azure, or maybe you use something exotic. But if you start with things like that, and especially if you are say a small, mm-hmm. less than 500 people, that's probably ideal to set up that. If you're just doing, say, I have a company that has to do a lot of CAD work, or I have a company that's doing some type of simulation. Damn it. Oh, excuse me. They're simulating something.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, wait.
Look at those words out eventually.
Yeah. Not civilization.
I don't know if that's the word.
They're simulating something, and they need for this to run so many cycles or repetitions so that they can get data points and see if what they thought was gonna happen is happening, or it may even be to the point somebody's working on an algorithm and they need that type of computing power. Yeah. So that's one good thing about virtualization.
It doesn't have to run all the time. It could be just spin up instances.
In
case you need it.
It's just running processes right there in the background.
If you think about
it,
you can
great
have
example.
You can have I guess you could say virtualized code. In process. Which that's when you start getting into your JBoss EAPs mm-hmm. with your Java virtual machines, your Wildfly instances, which is the free version of Java EAP. Running the same darn thing. All it is run a web page. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, all that runs on one little system, and all it is it's code. That's it. And it's code talking to code. Using the Red Hat backend. Of course. But it's all still following the same processes. Yeah. And you have a bunch of stuff out there. That's before you even start dealing with hypervisors. Yeah. It's different use cases and stuff like that, because if you really start thinking about it, you start dealing with Docker. Docker is another fun one, because Docker itself can run on any OS out there. I think I have an instance of Docker running on every single laptop I own, including work. So I can play with a few things here and there.
And what's the advantage of Docker as opposed to running a virtual machine? A pure virtual machine on your PC. What advantages are you getting by running that implementation of Docker?
Lightweight.
And I can also do what inside of Docker?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want inside Docker. But the thing is, it does containerize. It does container. It makes all your stuff I guess you could say a sealed environment. Yeah. Because you don't have to allow it out. You don't have to. And the thing is, it's like, if you think about it, you could take Docker and pretty much turn it into like a VMware-esque type subsystem by using a software package out there called Portainer. Yeah. It is a management software set for Docker. It holds all your Docker desktops, lets you know what your processing power is doing and stuff like that. Same thing is VMware vCenter, right? Just as a lower level. Mm-hmm. Or at a mid-level, I guess you could say at this point. But, that's before you even get to your hypervisors like Hyper-V and, ESXi, which run your more archaic virtual machines.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like
your ISOs.
I think it might be on Windows 11 as well, but on Windows 10... more recently, I've noticed they've got also like kind of a similar like Docker type esque application, WSL.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
WSL.
I'm not sure what the S stands for. Subsystem, I think it is. It's like Windows Subsystem Linux.
Yeah, it's a even more. It's a Linux variant that runs for Windows.
So you have a whole nother machine that you can spin up. It took me 2 minutes. I was just like, okay, well, which one do you want? Okay, I want this repository. Boom, ready, connected, good to go.
Yep.
And then you just activate SSH, and you can connect anywhere you want on that network. So it's more and more. It's probably on your computer already. Mm-hmm. You're just not using it to its capacity.
Well, not the true Docker and Docker form.
Okay, maybe not true Docker, but like similar like virtualization.
A lot of your WSDL systems. Stuff runs in your Hyper-V setup because Hyper-V is Windows hyperinflated freaking virtualization standpoint. Yeah. It runs on all your Windows servers most of the time, and it's a pain to configure. It really is. I've always considered it bloatware because you have to use it like a headless system to be able to work it.
Yeah.
On occasion, but sometimes it doesn't even like that. So it's you have to have the GUI. So now you're having to dedicate 5 times as much power to it to get it to work.
Yeah.
And it costs you money. And that's what I don't like. You do have Oracle's version now. I can't remember the name of it. The Hyper-V version that Oracle has. Their Docker-esque containerized environment that they have, and then another one that one of our other friends told us about, running out there right now.
Yeah, I want to go back to Windows Hell 11.
No, it came on the new computer. I downgraded.
Yeah, but that's the problem. To
me, that's coming standard now like that.
That's why I think as someone that like tech, you should gravitate to VM, virtualization, whatever, Linux,
just Linux,
whatever you want to run. Whatever operating system you want to run, a Unix base, purely Unix base, you want to run Apple, you want to run Linux itself, or whichever distro of Linux you want to run.
Thousands of distros.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean,
millions at this point.
I would, maybe, stay away from, Ubuntu, because it's not Linux like it used to be. So
it depends on what you're trying to do.
I see now. I'll comment on that.
Let's say it this way: don't get the version that the people that use GUIs use.
Well, the thing is, I think
it's not user friendly.
The thing is, I think like Arch Linux, Ubuntu, and stuff like that is a good entry level.
Yeah.
And you can slowly but surely learn your way out of a GUI, if you're capable of using command line. However, that's when you pretty much go to Arc and you say, "Cool, I'm leaving it as is." It does have a GUI to it, but the GUI is not useful for a darn thing.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there who are diehard Arc fans. Okay. Believe me, I'm aware of that. I use Ubuntu Server because it's easy. It's got everything I need to it. There's no bloatware to it.
You just said the key. You said Ubuntu Server.
Yep.
We're talking about people that,
desktop.
Basically, I can remember Linux back before Red Hat was a thing. It was SUSE.
Yeah, SUSE. We still have it.
You put in a dang on disk, and the disk spun up, and that the operating system was running that way. You ran off of ISO.
Yeah, it's a live disk.
Yeah, a live disk. So that's what I'm saying. Like that was basically just click, click, click. It was not. It was not like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
In a server environment, you're not going to just right-click something and say, "Hey, do this."
Yeah.
You have to do structured commands and know what you're doing.
And they do have a Ubuntu server version that does have a GUI attached to it for some more non-real Linux friendly companies out there. However, that's you can virtualize all of that to make it even easier for people who are more Linux friendly. That you can have them log into your environment and take care of it for you.
Yeah.
So that's where, like ESXi comes in, because ESXi, ironically, is a hypervisor, or Hyper-V, that is from VMware. And it loads on bare metal. It's a version of Linux. It's got a GUI to it to help you configure your ports and stuff that you need to set up. Because if you try to configure that system in its subsystem, it sucks. Don't do that. It's not very useful. Their command line is not fun. You want the GUI.
Thank God. And it's free. You set up on your server. You let it rip tater chip. Go to the GUI that they gave you, the IP address. Spits you out freaking vCenter. Downloads your VMs to it, and you're spun up within an afternoon. Mm-hmm. It's not very hard.
And it's not. That's the craziest part about it. It's not difficult too, because I came from. I know we work in IT, but it's like from outside looking in, I was just service desk at the beginning, so I wasn't doing some of these things. And you like kind of put it on a pedestal, and you're like, that's too difficult because it looks difficult, and it's not. It's really not. Yeah. Like, and it's being used every day. Like, so a nice example that I had of virtualizing. Something as simple as like a gameplay session with some friends from college, right? They want to play this game
servers.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do Plex servers, media servers, but this one in particular, everybody wanted to play at the same time, and it's funny enough, it's a production game, so we're building buildings that build buildings. So it was like I can't get away from production. Yeah. So we're all playing at the same time. And they were like, well, we should set a game night up so that we can make sure we're always here. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But why don't you think about this? What if the server was always running? You connect at any point. You set your settings. You can turn it off when nobody's connected. And when someone requests to connect, you spin it back up. So that was something that, they also work in kind of IT-related fields. One's programming and another one is more... visual, like editing and asset implementation on a certain video game. But so they were like, hey, I think that this is possible, but do you know where we could start? And I was like, yeah, it's already done. I spun up on my same machine a full server with batch files that create those extra files, and then created them accounts, and then spun the server up, and it runs, and it'll start when they connect. It'll disconnect when everybody disconnects, and it saves all the data. So I don't have to be home every single time that they're home to play the game and whatever. So I'm like, hey, if you guys are looking to play, it's going to be running here. If ever it's down or it won't connect, you just give me a phone call. My computer probably turned off. Like, that's it. Yeah. And now I have a UPS, so that thing will not turn off. So that's how simple that is in your everyday life. We're very techie, we're very industrialized at this point, and we're trying to think of things on a big scale, but even small scale, your home server, game server, you could save a whole bunch of movies to that, and your whole family will watch the movies.
Yep. I mean, like I said, what the reality is what you're talking about still was somebody that was tech savvy.
Yeah, that's true.
Because my mother couldn't do that.
That's fair.
My dad refused to learn it.
So I'm saying, like, for some people, the reason virtualization is, I think, ideal is because of what you just said. I can just set everything. I can, set it and let it go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because all they would have to do is, hey, all of the technical stuff is set up in the server. You just log in.
Yeah. Just remember your password, please.
Remember your password, log in, and then everything that you wanted to do is already virtualized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if something happens, it's no problem. We'll stop that one and start another one.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty.
That's the beauty of it.
And honestly, for that community, all we got to do is make sure Solitaire's on there.
That's true.
But
and Minesweeper,
it's there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like now that you can take that virtualization and set up. What if these retirement homes were able to play tournaments against each other with Pinochle?
I've never played that game in a while.
Because then it's just log in, like you said, and they at least they're getting to go do more than just playing the cards. They're getting to communicate with other people, and and
it's like the virtual chess environment.
Yeah, and it's not just I just go to this place and I'm there by myself, isolated.
Yeah, so you're getting into the
and it's like that's where like thin clients can come in handy.
Yeah,
you have a big server running someplace else. It's not on your property. Somebody else is handling it for you.
Yeah.
And, they get the access to use it. I could tell you I've been in a lot of, retirement homes, stuff like that with family and stuff like that. And none of them have, like, a computer lab.
Yeah.
They want them all to bring their own laptops or something like that if they can. It's like, have, computer classes. Show these guys how they can communicate with their relatives and stuff like that. Instead of sitting in a room all day long, staring at white walls and, waiting for the end to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's the one thing where virtualization can really, you know, come into the fray, you know, and help these people out because it's not very hard, and it drives me nuts that it's not very hard to set up a thin client server for every single room in a retirement home and have a thin client in there for somebody to be able to access their damn email.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Or to send an email to their loved ones, or have a video chat.
Yeah.
You know, sorry.
Especially nowadays,
you got, you know, the thing is they nickel and dime you for everything anyways.
Yeah.
So you're already paying for it. You
Yeah.
might as well fucking use it.
I bet you if you paid to set that up for people, they would spend more time talking to their family, less time sitting watching TV
And waiting for
impending
the inevitable.
impending doom.
Yeah, right.
But no, yeah,
It gives them a meaning. It gives them a purpose.
yeah, and they're not confined. That it's the beauty of connecting to the internet is that I am no longer confined to the room that I am in.
Right.
I can connect to the world, and that connection is getting ever more present, even in those countries that don't have in the Philippines. I visited when I was 17, and I visited when I was 12. Both times, there's no computers in anyone's homes.
No.
Absolutely none. There's TVs and things like that, and they're starting with shows, and they get a little bit of cable here, but there's no routers. No.
And a lot of those countries still have computer coffee shops, computer shops.
Yeah. So that's it. It was the cafe. We have to go to the cafe and have to pay for my time. It was mostly dominated by the youth. It's just a bunch of kids playing video games, and instead of using it the way that the internet can, that's definitely one way you can use it, but the internet has so much more usability for not just, the teenagers or whatever in the city or the town, but you start, you can still have your cafe.
Yeah.
Put a server rack in the back room, get a computer or get something that can remote into that in everybody's house, rent out your computers.
Yep.
And then you can get it into the home, and then they see the value in that, and you can also be their distributor for the computer. Hey, you like it? Why don't you buy it? Subscription for about a month.
I think
every month for a year.
The biggest part with those countries like that, it's the same thing that we have here in the rural areas. It's that last mile. It's just in those rural areas that infrastructure hasn't been built.
That's true.
And unfortunately, that infrastructure costs a lot to put in. Even a T1 line, that's expensive.
Yeah, very.
It's or fiber. You get out of here.
Yeah.
Run fiber.
It's like $24,000, $30,000 for a couple feet.
So that's what I mean. But unfortunately, it's that way. But like you said, that there are opportunities that maybe you could reach out, like you said, at these cafes, and the cafes reach out to the educational units, and then the educational units could, work with the governments to at least get it, that way, so that the kids can also go to the cafe and do some of their work remotely, because I think since we had the pandemic, that's just reality.
Yeah, it's kind of become part of the new normal.
Yeah, you're going to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, it's most of it's all dominated by freaking all your Windows servers and stuff like that, but it's also your Active Directory and domain controllers and stuff like that are dealing with it.
If you have a large network of employees, you need that.
But all of that is virtualized.
Yeah.
It's even easier. To be honest with you, everything's, as long as it's connected to a switch, you're good to go. Don't try to virtualize switches. It doesn't work that way. Unless you're using, VMware, you can do some virtual nicking and stuff like that, virtual switching and stuff like that. Then you start getting to that little, that interesting realm of, how do I network virtual machines together and allow one to communicate but not the other and stuff like that. You start really getting into the nitty gritty of what virtualizing is and what it isn't. Hell, it's right now, there's a company out there called FreeNAS. FreeNAS is another big name company that's becoming mainstream at this point. A couple years ago they weren't. But you can, what it is, it's a NAS software that runs in a virtual machine that connects to your virtual storage and turns it into a NAS without you having to buy a NAS. As long as you got storage, you have a NAS.
Which, to follow up on that, the crazy thing is most people don't even need that.
Right.
They took the ideal of, hey, I got this old PC.
Yep.
That got a hard drive, and basically, That's all I needed. I didn't. They took all the peripheral stuff off.
Right.
So they basically, that ideal was great that they eventually moved it from hardware over into a software thing.
Yep. And the thing is it can be loaded anywhere. It's a virtual machine. Yeah. It's hard installed software. It's a Linux based system. Will let you do NFS and TFS shares. It'll let you do all of it, right? iSCSI if you're really dealing in your virtual world, which iSCSI is a whole different bag of animals. That it's a fun row to hoe. You're trying to it's how you do your virtual nicking and stuff like that is through iSCSI. And your storage is done through iSCSI because you have your different store. Each VM has its own iSCSI identifier, which maps it to a certain portion of the drive. So it really just depends on how deep you want to go with that particular rabbit hole.
This kind of pushes me into even further, which is like we haven't. As humanity, we haven't really embraced this part yet, but there's certain points too, like metaverse. It's trying to virtualize your life.
Yeah.
So like, it wants like you think about that combined with the VR goggles and things like that. You're virtualizing your area around you, the room around you, your vision. You're virtualizing that, like HoloLenses. You're showing other people. I don't need a screen anymore. Like it gets even deeper, and the possibilities are, really endless. It's limited to your creativity in that sense. But like, to be honest with you, I think it's probably going to have some hesitancy for quite a bit longer, because the internet isn't, there's no real police force or anyone regulating a lot of things. So in a lot of places, there's just whatever someone thought up is out there, and that shouldn't be the thing. There should be some type of vetting.
Well, I would say this: the day they regulate the internet, so the day that they allow some government agency to control content on the internet,
it's going to change.
Well, what I mean by that is then you're going to lose what the internet is.
Right.
So, to me, don't change. To me, when we say, hey, we keep getting weeds over here in the garden, so let's dig up the garden. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, because I'm from a different perspective. I'm from megabytes where y'all got terabytes, petabytes. I can remember when we only had 2 to 4 megabytes.
Yeah.
When people had to actually program
on a disc the size of a piece of bread. Yeah.
But besides that, I guess what the point I want to get at without getting into a whole thing on spill on when you say I got a problem and your thing to solve the problem is to throw everything away.
Yeah.
Then you're going to create a bigger problem.
That's true.
Now I do agree that there should be some adults in the room.
Some type of filter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you maybe it's AI.
And it's not an
maybe
easy question
maybe
to answer
AI is the adult.
Yeah.
I think I would be more trustful of AI than I would of a committee saying this is what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the people working Facebook.
Yeah.
It's like you talk about the metaverse. Yeah. I still can't stop laughing when it's kind of funny because when we start talking about virtualization, you start talking about virtualizing professions. Because everybody's got to be virtual. That's why you have remote positions.
Right? They're pushing it.
But I saw something the other day, and people saying that you can make money being a realtor inside the metaverse. You tell me how that works.
You selling land?
Well, it would work.
You're selling virtual land inside of a virtual environment, inside of a virtual world, to virtual people.
What's Bitcoin?
You've now officially hit the entire virtual environment.
What's Bitcoin?
Yeah.
You're selling virtual money in a virtual environment in a virtual world.
Yep.
It's there. But it's a little bit more substance behind it.
Yeah.
But the concept is there.
Right. It's just one of those things of where you start taking virtualizing and you start putting a lot of weird circles and ties to it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, eventually we had to stop doing that.
So
I agree with you. It can be real ugly.
It
no,
causes
it really
problems.
can. And then it does get people out of touch with reality. But like I think that
How you take a loan on that?
yeah, right. So my first loan I used to pay for my virtual house.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about these Dogecoin, Bitcoin, all these coins. Eventually those coins gonna show up somewhere.
Well, and I think and a large portion of those crypto coins are, they're built on other systems like they're doing other processes and they're used as currency. But no, I definitely agree with you. Like it's like and Bitcoin is nearing the end because. I mean, there's only but so many.
It's cashed out already.
Yeah. So.
I just mean, I guess a better thing would say was, the crypto eventually.
Mm-hmm.
That
are going to spin up a crypto for whatever.
Well, eventually the
you
banks.
can do it on your own company if you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say eventually the banks was going to say, "Good idea.
Mm-hmm.
How do we control it?"
Yeah.
As soon as they can figure out how to control it, then crypto is the.
IRS is already doing it.
They're already trying.
I mean, own it. I mean, the IRS is not the ones that we work. The IRS
where's my cut at?
they get money from other people.
Yeah.
The banks generate money.
Yeah.
It's a difference.
And who knows? We may create one for the company just for the fun of it. You've seen it all out there, so might as well try doing something. But it's one of those things of where maybe we've taken the virtualization thing a little too far.
Yeah.
And now we got to wheel it back a little bit. Because that old saying of you're living with your head in the clouds. Let's literally not get to that point. Because I think we've hit that. And, now we're propelling through it. I can understand if you're using it for research. Be my guest. If you're doing it to live a daily freaking secondary lifestyle, y'all, don't do that. It doesn't work that way.
Not healthy for you.
Right, exactly. You start talking about things that in a different world, literally. It's between two pieces of RAM. At that point.
Unplug the TV or the computer, and you got nothing.
Right. You took my world away. And you start dealing with that.
I mean,
but the PC is probably going to become obsolete anyway.
Yeah, the gateway.
I mean, everybody. I don't say everybody. There is probably a very small part of the population that doesn't have a mobile phone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And those are powerful too.
If you think about it, you can still use an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever, Windows phone, if you really wanted to access a virtual machine. We've seen people do it at work. It's plausible.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because we use our phones to access and I tried to fight from saying anything about 3D printing for a while. I've been fighting, but like we use our phones to connect via an API to a web interface that's running at our house to show us what our print's doing.
Yeah,
that is true.
We're virtualizing that connect so that we don't have to run home.
Yeah.
And check it.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, for me, it itches when I'm printing something and I don't know where I'm at or what's going on. I need to know. Mm-hmm. So like, I needed that.
And the thing is, it's all about ease of use. And the thing is when virtualization came out, and I know we're over time again. When virtualization came out, it was meant for that. It was meant to more resources on lower platforms. It was meant to make life easy. It was meant to propel this type of stuff. So as long as we keep it between the rails, I think we should be okay. But the thing is, it's like, and that's the other reason why I think that virtualization is definitely a piece of tech that needs to be learned. And
it's a step in the right direction.
Well, the thing is, it's the future, and right now we're dealing with this is the future. We're in it, we're living it, we're there where where exactly virtual classroom. Somebody needs to maintain this stuff when people are long gone.
Virtual conferences,
yeah.
I mean,
right?
It goes on and on, like you said.
Virtual trade shows,
yeah.
And it's like, and that type of stuff. People need support. You're going to see that the realm of that increase via cloud based, via AWS, Azure. Amongst other, platforms. Heroku is another one. Those type of things. So, that's stuff that, we have coming down the pipe. But, I'll end the spiel there, I guess. But, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and, just, get a hold of some virtualization stuff and just keep learning it. And have some fun with it, Definitely look out there and see, hey, what can you virtualize? What can you play with this? And, transfer from hard data to big data. So, I'll turn it over to the guys, and y'all have a good night.
So, I wanted to say too, like, I know Nick just kind of said try to get into some type of virtualization or learn something. That's also a challenge he issued me very early in my kind of my like switch over to stepping into more of an IT focus in the career. So it's one of the things that's like, yeah, it can be daunting or feel daunting because it honestly at some points is a foreign language. Because it is machine language, right? So when you're looking at it, a lot of it's not gonna make sense. But the thing is like, if you stick to it, you will realize the possibilities are endless. Currently in the works of working out several different instances on an old gaming PC. Breathing life back into this PC that hasn't been turned on in 6 years, and it's going to be running 4 instances of my printers so that I can see my printers, webcams, and firmwares, and all of that, so I can see what's going on when I'm not there. Mm-hmm. So it's something that it'll breathe new life into old electronics. It'll save you money. It'll save you time. So like I know it's difficult, but it's definitely worth it. As with all things, so it's okay to stumble a little bit, but keep at it, and we're here if you need or if you have any questions, you need any help.
So like both of the guys were talking about, I would definitely try my hand at virtualization. You can use VirtualBox or VMware Viewer to start with. Just maybe download a few instances of a Linux distro, or maybe you will be a little nostalgic and you want to maybe run XP or something just
Solaris.
Yeah, or whatever, just and that gives you a way to do that. You don't have to load it onto your system. You don't have to worry if it messes up. You can actually save an instance or the state that it's in if you wanted to, and restart it, or you can do a lot of different things. So I think the big thing is you should at least try it. I mean, you should at least try it, and if you guys are interested in us doing a short demonstration on that, we'll be willing to do that. Leave a comment and let us know if you guys are interested in something like that.
Yeah. There we go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Tech at Lunch podcast, where we hope you learned something about tech during your break or during your lunchtime. If you did, please give us a follow to prevent missing future episodes. If you have any ideas or something you want to hear or learn about, please send us a show idea to podcast@vulcanara.com. Hope you have a good rest of the day and continue learning.